All right, crack open a tepid Genesee, watch the pictures as they travel through your neighbor's Wi-Fi. It's the Rees Company. I'm Steve Rees, the bull of American broadcasting, alongside the great Chris Morganti. A lot of fun things to discuss this week. We watched part one of the Beatles' Get Back documentary, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, I'm going to tell you about something we're going to do a little later. We're going to show you more, in fact, the rest, basically, of a 1986 CBS Sunday night movie called Who is Julia?, starring Mare Winningham. And we're going to be discussing that.
And first, of course, our public service announcement that we always do for the community good.
Yes, we have to make clear our stance on the issue, the focal issue of Who is Julia? Chris, how are you?
I'm good. I will say, we might as well just dive right into it because we talked about it last week on last week's show about how excited we were about this Beatles documentary.
Yeah.
And man, I can say, despite my high expectations, it actually exceeded them.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I was watching maybe about 2 minutes in. The Avon and I were watching this, and I said, this is amazing. I can't believe we're actually seeing something like this because the footage is so, I don't know if it was restored or just well preserved, but it's like it was shot yesterday. And all of this is, I guess, 52 years old. All this took place 52, damn near 53 years ago.
Right.
So what do you get to watch when you see this? It's a completely immersive experience. You're in the studio with the Beatles as they record what becomes Let It Be, but at the outset, their goal was to write and rehearse an entire album, in a fortnight's time, and debut those songs on a television special in front of a studio audience. And that plan evolves over the course of the documentary. And
well, you say they were recording Let It Be, which is basically what happened, but there's so many other songs in there. There's parts of Abbey Road, which of course hadn't been put out yet.
Right. I think Polythene Pam, I definitely heard.
She came in through the bathroom window.
Maxwell Silverhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. And surprisingly, some of their
Golden Slumbers.
Yep, Golden Slumbers. Some of their later solo work is in there. In the very beginning, there's nothing in the studio. There's just 4 chairs. They haven't brought in any of the mixing equipment. It's just no one else was there, and you just see John with a guitar, and he's doing "Jealous Guy."
Yeah, but it's called "Road to Marrakesh."
No, that was something else. It was "Child of Nature."
Child of Nature.
Right. I'm just a child of nature, and it's "Jealous Guy," but he hadn't figured out those lyrics yet.
Right.
And of course, that was part of, I believe, the Imagine album. Mm-hmm. There's so many great, that's a couple minutes in.
And that's another thing. They start doing Give Me Some Truth, and John mentions that he and Paul had written that.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to me because Paul is not co-credited on that on the Imagine album.
Okay.
And perhaps the song evolved to a point where Paul's contributions were diminished. But that was not something I knew, that was originally a song intended for the Beatles. All Things Must Pass, they rehearse early.
Yes. Yeah, that as well. And there's a scene where Paul is singing "So Tired," which I believe is the name of that song. But you know what song?
I'm so tired. Yeah.
Yeah, which of course is a John song. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's just weird. Why is Paul singing this?
Yeah, it's confusing. Maybe he just liked it. Maybe he had something to do with it. That had already come out though. One song, another song forgot to mention.
Was that part of the Revolver album?
No, that was on the White Album, which Paul refers to in I believe part 1. He refers to the White Album as the Beatles, which is the proper title. And I wonder if at that time that's still how people referred to that album.
Yeah,
and I
maybe.
wonder when the White Album became the common way of titling it.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that. So Paul was just he was just warming up to that song. He must have liked it. Yeah, So Tired. You know, I was thinking that that was something they were planning on recording, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that had already been put out. So he was just warming up to that song. But it was cool to see, because they stopped performing live so early in their career. They never got the chance to do things like have sing each other's songs, swap vocal parts and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, if they'd kept touring for another 20 years, you would have seen a lot of that, but, you didn't get that. because they stopped, and that's actually how the documentary starts. It starts off with "In Spite of All the Danger," which was never released. It was released on the anthology album years and years later.
I believe that's the first song they recorded.
It's
right?
the first song they ever
original.
Yeah,
Beatles
the first
song.
original song they ever recorded.
And they were teenagers.
I
Right?
think it was in the 50s.
Yeah.
And that's how this documentary starts. And then it takes you through, like, I would say maybe a 10-minute, just kind of with subtitles, kind of, or whatever the term is.
Titles.
Titles, yeah. It takes you through, like, this is how they got to this point where they're in the studio trying to record. They're not just trying to record an album. They have 2 weeks to record this album and then perform it on a live TV show.
Right. And the reason why they have 2 weeks is because Ringo has to make a movie
Yeah.
called The Magic Christian, which he subsequently made, and I guess it did all right, but it's not something people remember as much as they remember these songs that are just,
Yeah.
they pull out of themselves.
So somebody should have took Ringo aside and explained priorities to him. You're not going to be known as an actor, dude. But yeah, and then you would think that because of that, he would be a little bit accommodating. But no, there's a whole other thing where he refuses to leave England to perform this thing. They're trying to find a venue that would be, something like the Colosseum, a Roman Colosseum, not the Colosseum, but a Roman Colosseum. And he's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to leave England to shoot this. What the hell, Ringo?
Also, on the other hand, what the hell, Michael Lindsay Hogg, the original director, who appears to be the head of the Libyan tourism board.
Yeah.
What dog does he have in making the Beatles perform in Libya?
Well, because it's Christmas time. So you need to go somewhere else to get a warm outdoor. If you're going to do it outdoors, you need to go somewhere else.
You need to go to the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, I think Libya's in the Northern Hemisphere.
Well, then you can go to the Southern Hemisphere. You could go to, say, I don't know, Tahiti?
Well, you could.
Plenty of places you can go.
On 2 weeks' notice? I don't think, you got to keep things kind of close.
Well, they're the Beatles.
I think that's how Libya was the answer there.
Or no, maybe only the Beach Boys can accomplish that.
Yeah, that was weird, huh?
Yeah, you want to tell the folks?
So
they haven't seen it?
at one point, like I said, when this first starts, there's absolutely nothing in the studio. It looks like an empty warehouse, and George is like, "Hey, where's the console and the mixer and all that?" And they're just like, "Oh, that'll be here. Don't worry about it." And he's like, "I don't know, man. The sound's really bad. Like, imagine recording in an empty warehouse. Like the acoustics are terrible." But they're just like trying to figure all this out, and then. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So then they're like, well, we're going to get 8-track mixers, right? And they're like, no, we're only going to get 4-track mixers. And they're like, well, what? Why? Like, why can't we get, like, the Beach Boys just had 8-track mixers. And I forget who says it. Who says it? John or Paul, they go, oh, yeah, but they're American. Like, what the hell was going on?
Is that a reference to Help? When the doctor who kidnaps Ringo, he's talking about how everything about American technology.
Maybe. I don't remember
everything he owns is American because everything American is high tech. Was that like an inside reference to their own OOV? Or is it the doctor who kidnaps Ringo?
I don't remember. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I haven't either.
I hope that was the case because otherwise it's pretty depressing.
The Roy Kinnear character in Help.
Okay. It'd be sad that the Beatles were still getting like secondhand treatment in favor of like American, the Beach Boys are great, but still, they're not the Beatles.
Yeah. I think that's what that might have been. Noel Gallagher, everybody knows. I'm a big fan of the Gallagher brothers, also known as Oasis.
Sure.
Noel Gallagher said something a few years ago in an interview. He did Desert Island Discs. It's a show on BBC where people give 5 records that they would take to a desert island if they were going to be stranded there.
Gotcha.
And then do nothing with because you can't play them.
There's no electricity.
Point. Yeah. So
maybe some sort of solar powered type of thing would get the job done.
Yeah, I'd prefer a boat.
Well, sure. Yeah.
I'm not going to think, oh, geez, which psychedelic furs right? No, I'll have a boat of any kind.
An interesting point. Did you ever wonder why the professor on Gilligan's Island couldn't just fix that goddamn boat?
All right.
Why has no one thought of this before?
Okay, so anyway, Noel Gallagher's on Desert Island Discs, and he picks his 5 songs. He picks one by a Manchester act, I think like a house act called A Guy Called Gerald. He picks a Pink Floyd song, a David Bowie song, a Beatles song, and I think a U2 song.
Okay.
And the DJ says to him, well, what about American bands? Are you not interested in American bands? And he says, well, I like the Doors and the Stooges, but apart from that, not really. And the interviewer says, well, what about the Beach Boys? And he says, no, the only reason why people like the Beach Boys is because Paul McCartney likes them. But if you listen to them, all they are is barbershop quartet. And ever since he said that, that's how I've heard I can't, as they say, as the kids say, I can't unhear that.
I will tell you, even not hearing that, I always thought that anyway. Never been much of a fan. There's a couple songs I like, but otherwise I don't get it. I don't really get it.
Yeah, I like some of their stuff, but I think Noel and apparently you make an excellent point when it comes to that. But not to take this away from the Beatles, back to Let It Be, or I guess the making of Let It Be. George writes "I Me Mine." He comes in and he's talking about it. How he wrote this song after watching a made-for-TV movie called Europa. He was inspired by a ballroom scene where they were doing a waltz.
Well, if it's anything like the made-for-TV movies we watch, this song is probably about rape.
Well, one of my long-held beliefs that this film shattered, I had the impression, because it's what George actually said, that I Me Mine, the lyrics of I Me Mine, referred not to rape, but how common those words show up in Eastern religious and philosophy texts. But there's no mention of this in the film as he excitedly tells Ringo about this song he wrote the night before.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite scene in part 1, because it's just, when it starts out, it's just George and Ringo and some other guy, maybe that Hog guy, I don't know. But the three of them are standing around, and George is so excited about this new song he wrote, And Ringo's like, yeah, man, all right. So Paul walks in. And George is like, hey, man, you want to hear my new song? Paul's like, yeah, sure, why not? And George starts playing this, and Paul's just like, And then he goes, is that grammatical? Flowing more freer than wine? Shouldn't it be more freely than wine? And George is like, why are you nitpicking my song, man? And then he keeps playing it, and now John walks in, and John just totally shits on the whole thing. He's like, all right, I have the exact quote here. He says, Harrison's fisher wives and dwarves and hunchbacks. Run along, son. We'll see you later. I mean, I don't know. That's like typical John, what the hell is he even talking about? But you kind of get it anyway. Right. And then he goes, we're a rock and roll band, And George says, I don't care if you don't want it. I don't give a fuck. And John says, it can go in me musical, George. Do you have any idea what we play?
Interesting. And then John presents everybody with Across the Universe.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't exactly call...
Yeah.
You shook me all night long.
It's much like I Me Mine.
Right.
Yeah, aesthetic. But
I don't know what the issue was there.
Yeah, but it's funny, man. Obviously I didn't do it justice, but it's very funny to see how dismissive Paul and John are of anything George wrote. And it leads really to the culmination of part 1, which I don't know if we jump right to or if there's more. But we might as well just say, part 1 ends with George walking out on the band.
Right.
And it's briefly mentioned earlier in part 1. Somebody asked, I think John, they're like, is this the first time someone has quit the band? He goes, no, Ringo did too. And it's not really addressed. Maybe it is later. But I kind of know that Ringo he probably was feeling like George was feeling, like, why am I even here? So he quit the band at one point. And
do you know what point that was?
It must have been briefly, not long before this film.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, like it wasn't in the early days, obviously.
Because I was wondering, because Paul brings up Jimmy Nicol a couple of times, the guy who filled in on one tour for Ringo.
Okay.
And about how terrible he was. He was distracted by the women. Did you see that?
I didn't pick up on that.
So he started, he would come in late on every song because he was just overwhelmed with Beatlemania. Yeah. And suddenly you find yourself, you're just a dude.
Right.
Suddenly you're portraying Ringo in the Beatles. That's a very unique position.
Yeah, Yeah, but so they went to Ringo and they're like, look.
But see, here's what I was wondering. If
Okay.
that was when Ringo had quit, that he wasn't sick. I was wondering if it was...
No, I don't think
that
it
was fairly early.
I'm pretty sure it was past their touring days when they
Okay.
were a studio-only band. And they went over to Ringo's house and they're like, look, just come back. Like, you don't even have to play the drums anymore. Just don't break up the band. And then we saw a similar thing here where George leaves. And I don't know if you want to do it or I want to do it. But this is my second favorite part, maybe my favorite part.
Do it, Chris.
Where George leaves and he says, I'll see you boys at the clubs, which apparently they say was a reference to something somebody else had said. I didn't know what they were talking about.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah. But anyway, so they're all sitting around and they're like, oh, let's go to lunch. And they go to lunch, they come back and they're all just horsing around, just playing like nonsense. They do not care at all that
But
George
it
left.
seems to me, I saw a lot more alcohol making the rounds
Yeah.
after George quit.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of fed into the fun atmosphere that ensued.
Yeah.
I think that they were kind of they were faced with this crisis. They didn't seem to treat it as one, but I think deep down they saw it as one.
Perhaps. Yeah.
And that was their way of dealing with it. Well, let's just get pissed, as they say, and have fun. Hopefully George will come back tomorrow.
Well, they had another way of dealing with it, which is John says, if he's not back by Tuesday, we get Clapton. Which is my favorite line of part one. Like how just like, whatever, dude, he's replaceable. You got this other guy, Clapton. And then like they're just assuming that Clapton would be like, sure. Like, why wouldn't I be in the Beatles?
You know the story with Clapton and George, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about Patty Boyd.
Patty Boyd. And,
I figured that kind of adds a little.
I don't
was
know
that
that-
before or after.
Oh, that
I
was
don't
well
know.
after.
Yeah, that was after.
yeah. So,
That
happened after.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that hadn't happened
Like
yet.
in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like 72, 73.
Whenever Layla was written, that was the catalyst for all that.
Yeah.
That's why I thought Layla was 68.
Oh, no. Layla was in the 70s.
Okay. Well, forget me then. Let me just turn my mic off.
But speaking of how long ago things were,
Do we need to detail that story? We're trying to draw
we
in.
can.
It's an amazing story that
Well,
if you're into rock history. But
Let's see how much of it we remember. Now, George Harrison married a woman called Patty Boyd.
Beautiful, stunning blonde.
She inspired Something.
Okay.
She inspired Layla. She inspired perhaps even Wonderful Tonight. Or,
Right.
How many? You could name any number of classic Eric Clapton and George Harrison songs that this woman inspired. In fact, she should be known as the tits that wrote the hits.
that's a T-shirt.
She had an admirer in Eric Clapton, shall we say, who was very good friends, if not best friends, with George Harrison. And Eric fell in love with her. And the song Layla and other assorted love songs, every song on that album is about Patty Boyd. Now, they're not yet together. From what I understand, what drew them together is that Eric showed her some sort of a container with heroin in it and said to her, if you don't go out with me, I'm going to take this heroin. And she said, well, okay, well, then you sound like a reasonable person to spend the next several years of my life with. So she left George Harrison, and it caused a rift between them, but not for very long. The really part is that they eventually all saw the funny side,
Yeah.
and everything was fine.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
And eventually Eric and Patty divorced and whatever, and then Sheryl Crow, and I don't even...
Can you
I don't
imagine
know how quickly you want to...
She's married to a guy, Rod Weston. Can you imagine him, around the parties? Yeah. So, so what do you do, Rod? I'm a trash man.
I'm just a grease monkey.
Just a grease monkey. See, we're not even going to watch that part of the next motion picture. Maybe we should. Maybe we should go back.
Oh, we definitely
got
gotta watch that part.
That scene.
That was just in there. We just didn't realize that, but it was just in there. We just saw that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just like the 11 songs that were named after or inspired by Patty Boyd.
Inspired by. Now, I don't want to get too inside, but I'm also a big Donovan fan. And he was dating when they all went to India, which is also in a later episode of Get Back. There's footage that Paul and John shot while they were visiting with the Maharishi.
That's in part one?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's later.
But because we're talking about Patty Boyd, she had a sister, perhaps still does, called Jennifer, who was with Donovan.
Oh, okay.
And his song, Jennifer Juniper, is about Jennifer Boyd.
Wow.
So it's a very influential set of related body parts.
Yeah, and Culture Club had a song about Oil Can Boyd.
All right. Well, now we're getting a little far. I don't know if that was a joke or what that was.
I don't know. I can't imagine Culture Club being familiar with it.
Yeah, how would they know who he is?
Terrible joke that will be edited out of the show.
No, I think it should stay.
That's got to stay in.
I think it should be in the intro. I think that's the first thing anybody should see when they dial this up.
I didn't think you guys were going to even know who that was.
Oh, yeah, he was a pitcher for the Red Sox in the 80s, perhaps?
Oh, I thought he was part of the Big Red Machine. No? He was later?
He might have been. I'm
pretty sure he was.
I associate him with the Red Sox in the 80s, but I could be wrong. So talking of how long ago this was shot and how great it looks, now to do kind of a corollary here, in the time this footage was shot, it would be like if the Beatles in this were somehow watching footage of that quality that was recorded in 1917.
Yeah. It's weird how long ago this was. Man.
Yeah.
This is before any of us were born.
Yeah.
Well, all the Beatles were. I mean, the whole Beatles thing was before
Yeah,
any of us. But,
everything. I mean, they broke up at least a decade before I was born.
and they were the most. Oh shit! How do I put this? They sold more records in the 2000s than any other band.
Is that true?
It's either I think I'm referring to the decade of the 2000s, like 2000 to 2010.
Right.
Yeah, they outsold every other band. It's amazing the longevity and just how. I mean, my 11-year-old daughter loves them. You know.
Well, she should, and all kids should.
Yeah, everyone should.
Another thing that surprised me is the song "Get Back." It started out as a protest song against the beliefs of Enoch Powell, who was a diverse figure in British politics. He was very anti-immigration, sort of the Nigel Farage of his time. But the protest angle gets abandoned. And the song evolves into a tune about, I guess, trans people smoking weed. Gee, Chris, I wonder what, if anything, made Paul suddenly anti-immigration.
Specifically from the island of Japan, maybe.
Perhaps.
But I'll tell you, it did not start as a protest song. It started off as, and this was amazing to me. Like, they're all just sitting around like, man, we only got like 10 days and we got to do a freaking concert. We got nothing. And Paul's just like, blah, 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 blah. You know, just tuning around on his guitar. And within 2 minutes, he has the skeleton of Get Back. Like, it seemingly comes from absolutely nowhere. Within 2 minutes, he has the basis of it, you know? Not the lyrics, but, you know? And it's just amazing. He does this like 2 more times just in this part. I think one of the other ones was, I have it here somewhere. The Long and Winding Road, same thing. He's just tooling around. And, you know, you could say, oh, well, maybe he had written that the night before. But, man, that's not the way it comes across at all.
But
it
also
seems
still,
like he's creating it in the moment.
But still, even if he had written it the night before, it's still very impressive.
Yeah. It's impressive just to write that song. But
in fact, I think the notes you sent me, the way you phrased it, is he pulled that song out of his ass.
yeah, and that and The Long and Winding Road, they just seem to be, because they were... He's so under pressure, like they get down to like it's a week to go when George quits. And they really have almost nothing. They don't know where the show's going to take place because Ringo won't fly out of England and George doesn't want to record in a studio that they're in now while this is filming because he thinks the acoustics suck, which obviously you could fix, you know. You got a television crew in there. They're going to, whatever.
Yeah, but they have only 2 weeks. If there's an audio issue, that takes about, I think we know, Chris, it takes about 6 months.
It's a solid 6 months.
Yeah.
Get your microphone.
They didn't have that kind of time.
Did they have 2 seasons?
You know what? You know, I remember there's one scene where John's complaining about the gain.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Because I've watched this entire documentary. I've watched all 3 episodes. I understand, Chris, you have not. And I can tell you, at no point, with all the audio issues they have, using 2 different studios, not one person ever mentions gain.
Yeah. Gain is Hamboy's go-to excuse for why things aren't working properly.
I actually think Paul does mention gain. I think he does. But it might have been for the same reason, to cover up that he screwed something up royally.
Dugan's the one who introduced the word gain in here.
Well, it's easy to blame people when they're not here, so let's go with that.
Oh, man.
What were we talking about just before we got onto that?
Paul's prolificness.
Yes, and like right after he does The Long and Winding Road, which I said seems to come just like Get Back out of completely nowhere, he launches into Golden Slumbers and Carry That Weight, which we'd said before, they didn't even make it onto what they were doing this album. It made it onto Abbey Road, which actually came out before this album. You know, it's all...
Right.
They were basically recording 2 albums, you know, that were going on here. But man, it's such a powerful scene. I keep saying this is my favorite scene. Now I'm on my 3rd favorite scene. But like while he's doing these 3 songs, like Ringo's just sitting next to him, and like he's like, even Ringo's kind of like in awe. Like, where is all this coming from, man? Like, and it's just Paul just being like, I only got 7 days. No one else is writing anything. You know, I got to get to work here. And George shows up in the middle of all this with a Wendy's breakfast baconator, being like, "Yeah, it was a rough night," you know, like, and Linda is shooting photos. Linda, who would later become Linda McCartney, Linda Eastman, I guess she was at the time.
Yeah.
But she's shooting photos, and I swear at one point when she pulls the camera away, she wipes a tear out of her eyes. She could have just been wiping her eye, but she definitely made that motion, and it's like, it really was like, if you were his girlfriend, you probably would have been drawn to tears by just watching this guy. You're watching a genius at work, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and Carry That Weight, which I mentioned was one of these 3 songs. That was like a bar sing-along, like a pub song originally.
Like a common public domain sort of thing?
Yeah.
It wasn't...
well, no, not public domain, but just like the spirit of it was like, you know, you would be in a bar and we're all be, da, 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 you know, like that kind of thing originally.
Oh, so that's the spirit in which it was written.
Yeah.
Yeah. But was Golden Slumbers not a lullaby?
Maybe. I mean, that would make sense given the name.
I think that was traditional.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have a whole other, like, I don't know.
Wait, Chris, knock yourself out.
I got a lot of notes. Like, I could just run through, like, weird observations that I made. But, you know, if we have an actual conversation, that'd be better. But I can just throw these out. Did you notice the weird Buddhist guy at the beginning?
There were 2.
Yeah.
2, and I don't think they were Buddhists. They were Hare Krishnas.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Who I guess
You're
some
right.
way tangentially or perhaps hands-on, George was involved with in some way. But
Yeah.
he didn't get the mohawk, so I'm not sure how committed he was.
Right.
But yeah, those were, there were 2 of them who showed up just randomly.
And the caption just said Friends of George's.
Friends of George's.
Or Friends of George, I guess.
Yeah.
More
But
grammatical.
It is...
It's not grammatical.
It is kind of odd when you see this. You see how Yoko wasn't the only non-Beatle in the studio.
Right. Linda was there, of course.
Linda was there. The various Hare Krishnas.
Yeah, and while they're showing these Hare Krishna guys, George goes, "Oh, you're recording our conversations?" Like he didn't even realize. Like he thought they were just there to like shoot music videos. I think like he didn't realize up until that point that this was going to be a documentary.
Right.
I don't know I don't know where George's head was in any of this. I know you're like a George fan because you'd mentioned on the last show that you thought he had the most successful solo career.
Well, I thought he had the most solid solo career.
I mean, I disagree on that, but it's not worth arguing over. But when I'm watching this, George almost comes off like the villain in this whole thing. Like, I really don't know what he was thinking at any part of this.
Well, don't you think after years of frustration of not being recognized as being a viable songwriter, a contributor to the
He
group
was not a
apart from-
viable songwriter, though. He became that. He basically studied under the 2 greatest songwriters of the time.
And he learned, and by that point,
Right.
he was on a par with them, in my opinion.
Well, or close, but he was definitely nowhere near that point.
Close enough for them to not laugh at his contributions.
Well, if you look at his contributions in the early albums, and he was nowhere, you could see why John and Paul wouldn't think he was on their level. It would have taken a few more years of, him writing hits before they would start to recognize him as being on their level.
No, I think probably the most...
And that's nothing to be like, even if you're like, I'm not getting the recognition, like you're part of the freaking Beatles. Like, how much more recognition do you need? You know? I feel like George came across as very unreasonable in this whole thing.
Well, I think
That's my take.
if you know you can play in that league and you're not having the opportunity, you're not having the at-bats, then it's going to frustrate you.
But is he even really that great of a guitarist when they're just ready to drop him for Clapton at the drop of a hat? Like, no one ever mentions George Harrison as being one of the great guitarists of all time.
I think one of the most influential guitarists, for sure.
You think?
He doesn't have the chops that Clapton had, but Clapton, as I said on the last show, had no feeling.
Yeah.
He plays like an autistic.
This is where we venture into territory where I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm making shit up as I go along. So I will defer to you on this.
Well, the most famous part of the original version of this, which was called Let It Be, there was a documentary that they used. Here's what happened. This Michael Lindsay Hogg character, he shot 60 hours of footage of the Beatles recording this music. He took, I guess, an hour of that and turned it into basically Paul and George arguing.
Now, I'm sorry, Steve. I got distracted. There was a release of Let It Be? I thought it was never released.
Oh, no, it was released, but the footage was turned into basically the crux of the film was just the Beatles rehearsing and then Paul and George arguing. Now, we saw the scene. That's the most famous scene in the original.
Yeah. Well, that's where George is like, "I'll play whatever you want me to play."
Yes.
Oh, actually, I think I wrote the actual dialogue down here. Yeah. So Paul says, "I'm scared of being the boss, and I have been for a couple years." Now, they go into this, too, because, of course, their manager, Brian Epstein, had died a year or two before, right after Sgt. Pepper, somewhere around there. And at that point, they just always did what he told them to do. And at that point...
And they trusted his judgment, and he didn't fail them.
Yeah, obviously he did well. He made them the most famous group in the world. But at that point, they were just kind of like floundering, and Paul decided, like, I don't want this band to break up, you know? So he kind of took the lead on things. And at one point, John says, "We've all been in the doldrums since Mr. Epstein passed away. It's discipline we lack." So Paul tried to give him that discipline, but they didn't want to hear it. You know, you don't want to hear it from your peer. You know, even though Epstein was only a few years older than them, he was still their manager, and he wasn't part of the band. So he was like, "Okay, you be the boss. You don't want your friend to be your boss. That's never a good situation."
Right.
So Paul's saying, "I'm scared of being the boss, you know, and I have been for years now." And John, he doesn't want to yell at George on camera. And John says, "Forget about candid camera." Again, that's how John speaks, you know. It's all in metaphors and allusions and everything.
Bit of a carrot.
Yeah. And Paul says, "I never get any support, so I just say fuck it." And George says, and this is the part you're referring to, the famous part. George says, "I'll play whatever you want me to play, or I won't play at all if it will please you. And I don't think you really know what that one is." And what that last line meant is Paul's trying to tell him how to play the song, and George is saying, I don't think you have it figured out yet. I'm trying to help you figure it out. You know, like they're having a legitimate disagreement. Much as I just, you know, said George was being unreasonable. Here, I see his side here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
But what I remember, and I haven't rewatched the original since watching this, but I don't remember that discussion being portrayed that fully in the original. As I remember it, because I remember George saying, "Well, I'll play what you want me to play, or I won't play at all."
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't remember Paul talking about the pressures of being the boss and how he doesn't really want to.
I don't think it made it in.
No. And so this, in many ways, this documentary changes history as we know it. But that is one of them. When Paul wasn't necessarily being an aggressor or an oppressor. He was just trying to figure out where the band was at that time.
And yeah, man, I mean, there's really another thing that kind of that narrative that has been out there for so long until this film is that John and Paul were drifting apart. And this totally dispels that. You can see so many moments. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. You can see so many moments where they're clearly like completely in tune with each other. just a couple of. Let me see. I have it in here somewhere. Right after George leaves, there's a scene where you think that John and Paul are arguing, and then you realize they're just like doing like a skit for the camera. Paul says to John, "Have you written anything else? We're going to be faced with a crisis." And John says, "When I'm up against the wall, Paul, you'll find I'm at my best." Which, how the hell did that song? How did that not make it to a song lyric? But But it seems like there are like that dialogue doesn't sound like an argument, but in the context it does, and you realize it's just for show. And then like right after that, they're playing face to face, like they're standing 2 feet apart. And they said I've seen from other things that's originally when they first started writing songs, that's how they did it. They would just stand 2 feet apart playing for hours, and that's how they came up with all their first songs.
You know why?
No,
the Everly Brothers.
Oh, that's how they did it too?
Yeah, they would stand that way when they performed. And the Beatles emulated that.
But there's a lot of other moments where you just see, it's nothing that was said. It's just you see the looks between John and Paul,
right.
And you realize they were still like best friends. They weren't. There's no point where you see John annoyed at Yoko. He may have been. He probably was. But it's never overt.
Oh, I don't think John actually wanted Yoko there. I think he just allowed it because he knew it would annoy other people.
Yeah, he did like to get a rise out of people. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember it that well. Did they ever rehearse "Don't Let Me Down"? Chris,
yes.
They rehearsed it like 40 fucking times.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's a more rehearsed song in the history of music. And the lyrics keep changing.
Yes.
And they're trying to figure it out. And this is, as I said, I watched this with the A-Bomb. And she said, "Can someone just tell them what the lyrics are? Who doesn't know this song?
Well, but
Put on a radio. It'll be on in 15 minutes.
But a guy does. It's a guy named Glenn who I don't know who Glenn is.
Glenn Johns was the I guess he was the engineer. I thought he was the producer, but I guess Phil Spector ended up being the producer. But yeah, he was one of the producers. As the hands-on guy in the studio, he was very much the producer.
He's the guy who says to him, he says, "You sing the first line, you two sing the second line, and then the three of you sing the third line." And once they do that, it's you're like, "Oh, that's don't let me down." Like it becomes the song. Like before that, it was just like they're just kind of meandering, and there's no. It's not the song that we all know. But that guy should probably get a writing credit because they were lost before that. Before he just figured it out. I don't know how much longer we want to go on. I have like two more observations.
Well, please, let's hear them.
When you listen to what the album that these sessions eventually became, we said it's Abbey Road and, I'm sorry.
And Let It Be.
Let It Be. When you listen to Let It Be, there's a song that really stands out as unique on there. And of course, I'm talking about One After 909.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like 1964 Beatles or earlier. And I always wondered whether or not it was just a song that they never got around to recording, or if they intentionally decided, hey, what if we did a song back like how we used to do it? Well, it turns out it's the former.
Right.
Because it says because they only had 2 weeks, they're like, man, do we have any old stuff we can trot out there and try and make work? And they do, it shows them trying these different songs, but apparently this is the only one where they're like, yeah, this will work. And John says, I wrote that when I was 15. 15! And it's such a good song, man.
And it was released on one of the anthology records. The original is they did record it in the early 60s.
Yeah, okay.
So there is a version
released
of that out there, yeah.
And John, after that, John's explaining lyrics, you're waiting for a girl on the train, and they're all laughing, the good old days are still so funny to them and stuff. I don't know what I'm saying.
Right,
but,
and also there's so little time. I mean, think about 6 years ago.
Yeah,
not that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, let's not think about 6. Sorry, Chris.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it goes by pretty quickly, and imagine how many changes came. Okay, Chris, let's stop talking about
that's
this.
what makes the Beatles such a great story. Is it basically their story encompasses the entire the decade of the 60s.
Right.
And they go from, a rockabilly, slick your hair back and wear leather jackets band to what they became.
To historical figures.
Yeah, it's so remarkable. There's nothing else like that story. And just one more observation. It's not even
Chris.
It's not even that poignant, but obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on,
Yeah.
The original lyric.
Thanks for singing it that way, because we won't get demonetized for that.
Yeah, because I totally butchered it. But obla-da was originally, oh my God. That was, oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't know that. This is pretty cool. I don't know why they changed it, but whatever. I'm not going to second guess Paul McCartney.
Yeah, please.
In his
don't.
choice of lyrics.
So, you definitely enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Now, I have watched the rest. I will watch the rest again if that's okay. And next week, we'll encapsulate and comment on part 2, the things that surprised us, the things we enjoyed. And you can join us, too, if you haven't seen it yet and you like the Beatles, and who doesn't? Being a Beatles fan is like being, you may as well say earthling, right?
Yeah.
So definitely check it out if you have access to Disney+. Shall we do this?
Yeah. It's odd that I've had a cold all week, and my voice is kind of like, on the fritz. And I think I've talked more than any other show we've done in the last decade on this show.
Are you feeling
it's
it?
Bad timing. Yeah, I'm starting to feel it, man. But this is more your segment anyway. I watched this movie, and it was, I don't know. Let's just get into it.
I'm pretty sure we had this exact exchange last week.
Really?
Yes.
Why, I didn't have a cold last week.
Are you talking about talking more than... I'm pretty sure that was in the last show. I
can't be.
could
I didn't have a cold
completely
last
wrong.
week.
Maybe I dreamed about the show in advance. Who
Yeah.
knows? Well, last week, we began discussing a 1986 CBS Sunday night movie called Who is Julia? It stars Mare Winningham, fresh off her breakthrough role in St. Elmo's Fire, which was basically a song with a film wrapped around it, Chris.
Right.
We watched an early scene last time, the initiating incident in which Mary Frances, played by Winningham, has an aneurysm while watching her son, Carrot, wander into the street and nearly get creamed by a cement mixer. He's saved by Julia, a glamour model who rushes to push him out of the truck's path. She's successful in that pursuit, Julia is, but is instead herself bowled over by the vehicle and suffers near fatal injuries. Now, Chris, you have a correction to make about a statement you made regarding that scene?
Yeah, I was watching it on a monitor far away last week, and it did not appear to me that she actually pushed the child out of the way. But upon watching this film in the intervening week, I see that she does push him out of the way. And then I see how the kid ended up in a crowd because she pushed him into the crowd. So I was, as we say, talking out my ass last week.
Well, both Mary Frances, Mare Winningham, and Julia, the model, are rushed to some circus of a hospital side by side. Now, here's what the doctors have on their hands. Plain old Mary Frances with a dead brain but a functioning body.
When you say plain, she's plain looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the other hand, they have a glamour model, Julia, with a trauma-free brain but a lifeless body.
Because it was bisected by a cement truck.
Right. So
that's actually the term they used in the movie. She was nearly bisected.
the relieving term is nearly. You don't want to be
Yeah.
bisected. You want to be nearly bisected. If you have a choice between the two,
I'd
I'd go with nearly bisected.
I'd go with bisected because I don't want the life that subsequently plays out here.
So this team of doctors, they meet with Mike from Breaking Bad. He's Mary Frances's husband, and they have a proposition for him.
Mr. Bodine.
If you could bring yourself to do this thing, another woman can go on living because of your cooperation.
I can't think now. You ask me tomorrow.
We wish we could, but unless we have your decision within literally minutes, it will be too late to proceed.
Thank God. You mean to say you can take another person's brain, put it in Mary Frances's body, and she can walk out of here and not be Mary Frances?
No. Recovery is very slow. Months and If it's successful, the woman whose brain is in your wife's body will look like your wife, but her memory, her personality, and her emotions will be the other woman's.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Try to understand. I'm just a grease monkey.
See, to me, this is called cat's cradle.
Ma'am.
Even they don't know what to say when he says that. That statement is greeted by complete silence from the other two guys in the room.
We've never heard anybody refer to themselves that way.
No one calls themselves a grease monkey.
Even people who work at a grease monkey will say, yeah, I work at the lube shop. You want to continue?
Come on, Timmy.
Sorry about your wife, Mr. Modine.
Yes, sir, me too.
At least the kid got out okay.
What do you mean got out okay?
That other woman that got run over by the truck, she saved his life. Pushed him out of the way.
I want Mommy.
Carrot.
All right, you can stop it there. So he at that point, he realizes that this woman saved his child's life, and therefore he's willing to let her brain be put into his wife's body.
Yes.
And is it just me, or did that cop come off a little too casual with his, sorry, your wife is dead? That seemed a little inauthentic acting there to me, but I don't know. I don't know how you would play it.
They don't get top tier acts in these things. Now, as you can imagine, this is the next clip? Okay. Well, when they got the call, no, it's fine. When they got the call that, okay, you can do this operation, the main surgeon, Dr. Matthews, he had a perverse look of glee in his eyes. Like he was really excited.
Yeah, this whole hospital is like the Victor Frankenstein Memorial Hospital.
So naturally, he wastes no time cutting into these gals. We're treated to a montage of both the surgery and Julia's romantic memories of her relationship with her husband. Jim? Pause. If he's not back in 10 minutes, we get Conan. No, I want that line in the show. It's a reference to John saying, we get Clapton. No. Let's, shall we continue?
Begin cryoperfusion, please.
Let's forget the party.
Oh my God, it's still on. Why are we watching all this?
You don't want to see this, Chris?
No, I fast forwarded through this in my original watch of it. I want to see a what? Why is you not pausing it?
Okay.
Why would we want to watch a woman get her head shaved and sawed in half? What possible use is there to that?
Okay, well, I guess we go to the next one, but I want to...
Can I just comment for 1 second? Since you hate this scene so much, do I have permission to add something to it?
Do whatever you want.
I'm not going to tell you right now.
Do whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm sure whatever it is would improve it in Chris's mind because
Yes.
he's not a fan of the scene.
I just want to make sure I have your approval.
I hope it's like Bugs Bunny sawing into her head. If you, I believe that might exceed your capabilities. No disrespect. I'm just saying, but that would be funny.
Now, Julia's husband, Don, he's late to the scene. Don is a photographer who's been on location in Mexico.
Now, just so, because this is confusing as hell.
Okay.
He is the husband of the woman whose brain survived.
Yes, the model.
And her brain, the model's brain, will now be transported, or what's the term? Donated or
Transplanted.
transplanted. There you go.
But see,
into
Chris,
the body of a much less attractive
that's
woman.
why I showed that scene. So you get a sense of who the model is and who her husband is.
Right, but I explained it in 5 seconds, where, as opposed to having to watch a woman get her head shaved and sawed in half. It's not often I question your judgment,
Look,
Steve.
I can say
but,
what you want me to say or not say anything at all. But I don't think you know what that is, Chris.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, anyway, Julia's husband, Don, he's late to the scene. Don is a photographer, and as I just said, he's been on location in Mexico. Now, because Julia was carrying an organ donor card, they didn't need his permission to perform the transplant, which is how it's pronounced. I'm kidding, Chris. Relax. Here's how Don takes
That was
the
a
news.
genuine laugh.
Here, please.
Are you really the husband?
I don't know what you're talking about, lady.
Sir. Are you the husband? Are you the husband?
Mr. North?
Yes, what in God's name is going on? Where's my wife? No one's told me anything.
I'm Bob Greenmeyer. I'm the hospital administrator, and I'm sorry about the madhouse. Officers, I
Hey,
want some
can we
backup
pause
to
it?
keep that crowd under control. Every visitor is being harassed.
Yes. Where's Julia?
I'd like to discuss it with
This
you
is kind of
and Dr. Matthews.
apropos, but I need to point out that this man, this takes place in Los Angeles, and this man just came back from a photo shoot in Acapulco, Mexico.
Yeah.
At what point did he decide that sweater was the appropriate attire? That's all. That's all. You can go.
Do you not think this was shot in California? Do you think this is one of those Vancouver shoots to save tax money?
I don't know. I mean, it was Christmas. I don't know how cold it gets in Los Angeles at Christmas. but,
It might be quasi sweater weather. You lived
I
out
don't
there,
know.
Jim. Is that the case?
It's not that cold, but you can wear it.
Yeah. If you're flying in from Acapulco, I'm thinking you're wearing a T-shirt. But what do I know?
From Acapulco to L.A. Yeah. Okay.
His office. No one told you anything because nothing has been released.
The police said she wasn't dead.
Your wife is alive, Mr. North.
You experimented on my wife? Without it, she would have died. If all goes well, she'll live. As what? A freak? What right do you have? What right?
Mr. North, we tried to contact you. In the final analysis, Dr. Matthews' obligations were to his patient, Mrs. North, who was dying. Those obligations aside, your wife did carry a card, donating her body to research, education, and organ transplants. In this case, she has not only accomplished all three, but has possibly saved her own life in the process.
All our facilities will be available for your wife's recovery and for your and her adjustment. We're well aware of the psychological implications. What will she look like? She looks like the woman who donated her body that your wife might live. You can see her tomorrow. But I want you to understand.
All right. Is that a good place
Yeah,
to stop?
that's a great place to stop.
Yeah. No, I didn't want it to go on too long.
Oh, okay. No, that's
At
the
a certain
perfect place to stop.
At a certain point, Steve, we're just watching television. So,
So he says, that Dr. Matthews tells Don that he can see his new wife tomorrow. And he says, actually, he doesn't say anything yet. So here's his attitude, I'm sure. All right, I'll check her out tomorrow. But you got any photos? There's no way AJ Simon over here doesn't have questions about things like maybe age, body type, possibly even race. Now, I'm not even saying he wanted his wife to remain white. He might have some sort of Asian thing that's gone unexplored. that he might have his hopes up for could be a godsend. All I'm saying is, in real life, the man would have some questions.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the age issue, but yeah, this could have been like this could have been like an Alzheimer's patient whose brain went, but the body, she's still got a solid body for a 70-year-old.
I haven't seen it. I'm just hoping that he just is completely unattracted to her and freaks out. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I will say this. Don is a real sport. It does take some adjustment, but by the time Julia is conscious, he's coming to accept that although she doesn't look like the woman he's married, she is indeed that very woman. Now, Julia, on the other hand, becomes not best pleased with her new visage. She starts ramming her head against a wall mirror in her hospital room. Dr. Matthews rushes in. She begs him to let her die. Eventually, she calms down, and they have this really bizarre chat. This is what we're going to see now.
Sure, you'd want another chance at life when they brought you into the hospital. And I was so proud that I could give it to you.
I do want to live. I just don't know how. I can't get inside her body.
Well, sure you can. You're there now.
No.
When you cry, you make tears come out of her eyes. When you want comfort, your hand comes out to me. You make the corners of her lips smile. And those eyes. See, I saw them before you were there. And they were cold and gray.
All right. Do we get the point on this too? How long are we going?
The way they look
all
at
right.
me.
We don't have to keep going.
And the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen.
Yeah, I just don't want the clips to be too long.
Okay, well, how it resolves is Julia becomes on board with her new body.
Okay, yeah.
She becomes comfortable with it because of Dr. Matthews' compliments. He tells her, he goes on to say, her eyes are the most beautiful eyes he's ever seen.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah. That's flattery. They're average, I would say.
You're not a fan of.
I mean,
you're not a fan of the new Julia.
It's no problem. It's just not.
How do I look? All right.
On par.
So now she feels comfortable. She feels somewhat confident, and it's time for her to go home. I'd like us to check out her bizarre exit from the hospital.
I think you just had it right before there.
That scene there. Here it is.
There we go.
Here she comes. Thank you.
One more time.
No, no more.
Smooch.
I'll call you. We'll have lunch.
Okay.
Peck on the cheek.
So again, Julia.
Handshake.
Thank you for your courage, Julia.
Double handshake.
Thank you.
Okay, so her husband is trying to wheel her out of the hospital, take her home, back to their new life so they can adjust to their hopefully long life together with all the changes that it now entails. But she just can't say goodbye to the staff or wave, give them one of these. No. She has to stop to Richard Everyone's Dawson and right in front of Don.
Who's Don?
Her husband.
Oh, okay. Well, you figure she's lived there. We skipped around, but she's lived there for months. Almost a year at this point.
Right.
So,
So she gets to make out with all the...
Because you sold this as she's making out with everyone as she walks out the hospital. But it was only one guy kissed her on the lips. I think it's more on him than her.
There were kisses exchanged that I think were inappropriate.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, I'm starting to notice two recurring tropes in made-for-TV movies. One,
rape.
We'll get there in a moment.
Oh,
Chris.
I'm sorry.
The other is this. The perfectly honorable, decent, loving husband whose wife unreasonably turns on him.
Yeah.
He can't be any more supportive, can't do enough for her.
Right.
But somehow he's the bad guy, and for a really trivial reason.
Yeah.
So Julia goes in to talk to one of the top physicians at Diploma Mill General, where she had the surgery.
You mean Victor, the what? The what? What was it?
What was what?
The name of the hospital?
Diploma Mill General? It was a joke.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was asking.
Okay. Well, and here's her complaint about Don.
Sincere with me. I mean, even his touching me. My first night home, he was all over me.
And that angers you?
That he could take a strange woman into our bed and make love to her using the same words and the same touches that he used to use with me. Yeah. I mean, is that how little I meant to him?
What strange woman did he make love
All right,
to?
can we just pause, please? Does she not? This guy's trying to make lemons out of lemonade, for Christ's sake. He used to date a supermodel. And you're going to complain about that? Come on.
He's doing his best. He's gone to the ends of the earth to make this work. Not good enough. Can we hear a little more of this, Jim?
But this Mary Frances body.
And who are you?
Oh, come on, Dr. Gordon. I haven't even figured this thing out yet. Now, how could he know?
He's had a long head start. Have you talked about it?
No.
I sense that neither of you is committed to this new relationship.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you discuss it with him?
No.
Just go around complaining to everyone who's ever done a Pathmark commercial that your husband is attracted to your brain and not just your body. What a pig this cat is. Well, it turns out there's more at work here. Can we go to 1 hour, 23 minutes, Jim? Well, that's a rare. Sometimes, Jim. I am capable. All right.
Wait, no, what is this, though?
Julia.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Go
Oh,
ahead.
Matt. Well, I was coming to see you, but
The hot
I
doctor.
couldn't bring myself to get out on that floor again.
Julia.
Now, where do I know this guy from? He looks so familiar.
I don't know. I'm sure he's been in a million things.
I miss you.
You come to my office.
Okay, pause. He stops the elevator. I know what you're thinking. Here's that other trope.
Lay it on me?
No, the one you suggested earlier.
Oh, right. Oh.
Yeah, but no, we're not there yet. All right.
You don't trust me?
It's not you I don't trust.
Well, I don't trust anyone. I don't. The only time I'm not scared is when I'm with you.
Wait, hold on. I didn't pick up on this the first time. Who does he not trust? He's saying it's not you I don't trust. What is he talking about here?
Actually, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, where's he going with this?
Where is she going or where is he going?
I don't know what he meant by that. It's not you I don't trust. That seems like-
I know what it is. I know
Okay.
what it is.
Will
He's
we
saying
see?
he doesn't trust himself.
Oh. Okay.
Because, you'll see this play out shortly.
Outside of here, I don't know who Julia is.
What does Gordon say about this?
He talked about brain stem injury, but I know what it is. I've lost control over my life. The surgery without my permission. People telling me what to do, telling me where to go and how to feel. And the less control I have, the less I know who I am. I'm not even allowed to love who I want, am I? That is how little control I have.
And who is it that you want to love?
I don't know. Don. You.
And why me, you think?
All right, that's enough. Yeah.
It's almost like to draw a parallel, like a Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, and that's a subsequent point the doctor makes, that because he was a caretaker, he relies on her, and therefore she thinks she's fallen in love with him. But she needs to be independent. And he's very honorable in his response to this. So Julie goes to visit her husband, Don, at work after this. He's shooting a spread with Lonnie, a model who is close friends with Julie. Lonnie doesn't recognize Julie at first because, in Lonnie's defense, Julie suddenly looks like a Peanuts character while singing. And Lonnie is clearly taken aback by Julie's appearance, which leads to this following scene.
Lonnie was so embarrassed and upset, she tried to call. What are you doing?
Found it in
Is she going to
Don't do this to me. Take it off.
Is she joining a Fleetwood Mac cover band? Is that what's going on here? This is my Stevie Nicks getup. What?
Why? If taking the bus, pour a soda, and I move the shoulders.
I said take it off.
You say that as if it doesn't belong to me.
It doesn't.
What's going on?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
Yes.
Oh, he doesn't.
I didn't.
He doesn't want her wearing his. He doesn't want her wearing her former clothing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that girl was, and she was much taller. Maybe she wasn't. I don't know. It seemed like she was taller.
Well, they had a different build, I'm sure.
Right.
And that's why I think she may have already described what she has to have done to this outfit to make it fit again.
Oh.
It's sick. It's morbid. Why are you doing this to me?
You never call me Julia. Huh? How come you never call me Julia?
Those are old clothes. There's nothing
You haven't
sick
called me
about it.
Julia since we've been home. No wonder the hospital felt more like home than this. They knew who I was. They treated me like Julia.
And Dr. Matthews treated you like his girlfriend?
What?
Reason I never call you Julia anymore. It's because the only time I ever saw the old Julia was when he walked into the room.
Maybe because he was always excited to see me, to see who I was each day at a time. You were scared to see me, and you wanted something other than what I was, and you still do.
He was excited to see his experiment.
You're the one that makes me feel like an experiment.
Well, then why don't you go to Dr. Matthews? Gotta get out of here.
That's a good place, right?
Yeah, that's a great place.
Yeah.
Chris?
I just feel like there should be a lot more empathy on both sides of the, you've been through something that apparently this is the first time in history that this has occurred.
Right.
You don't think that maybe there'd be some issues that maybe you should be a little more empathetic and sympathetic to the other person's whatever they're going through?
Well, he tried, much more so than we've covered here. While Julia's brain was in the hospital, Don removed all pictures of her from the mantle. You saw that when you watched it. Yeah. He also, we learned, put all of her clothes in the garage.
Right.
Makes it less of a reminder to her and to him that she's no longer in the same body. I would think that would be in an attempt to help heal her psychologically, and so that neither of them would be tempted to compare the two, how she looks now versus how she looked then.
Yeah, like if this happened to me, and like if this happened to Tom Brady and he ended up in my body, you would not want him coming home. And wait, no, I think I got this mixed up, but I think you got the general idea. Right. Tom Brady would not. Wait, no, how would this work? I would not wanting to be seeing the pictures of Tom Brady and being like, oh, that's what you're expecting me to look like.
How do you think Giselle's gonna feel?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. I got here early.
All right, so subsequent to this, Julia walks out. Even though we saw Don leave, Julia somehow walks out. And it should be noted that since she returned home, a suspicious vehicle appears to be scouting the house she lives in with
Yes,
Don.
a suspicious yet very well-maintained vehicle.
So this probably For Julia, wouldn't be a good time to make a late-night trip to the landfill to throw away all her old clothes and her 4 photographs. But she's a woman in a TV movie, which makes her twice as likely to make horrible decisions without anyone standing in her way. So let's see what occurs.
You all right in there? Need help?
My car is stuck. I'm tired. I just want to go
Pause.
home.
I forgot to point this out. After she threw her photographs, 4 photographs. She's a model. She only has 4 photographs. All right.
Well, it was the 80s.
I think Patch in Kate's Secret had more than 4 photographs of herself in her rehab bedroom. But she throws away the photographs and her old clothes in the landfill, which, by the way, I guess there might have been a trash strike at the time.
Why is that?
Well, she just put these things out on the curb, presumably, and they'd be picked up by folks.
Yeah, it's not often you have to drive to the landfill.
Yeah.
To personally deposit your trash.
The pictures didn't have Freon in them.
Maybe she had the body of her former body was also lying around.
So as she's trying to pull out, her car gets stuck in the dirt. I forgot to mention that part. But luckily someone is there to help, and we've just seen the beginning of this exchange.
Sure. I'll take you home, Mary Frances.
Yeah, we can't tell who that is.
Please, I need to see you. Please let me talk to you.
Why are you following me?
They kept me away from you like I hurt you or something. I needed to talk to you. Why wouldn't they let me talk to you?
Well, I don't know why. It's strange. Maybe I need to talk to you, too. I only look like her.
Sure do.
Man,
You even smell
this is
like
going to be
her.
like 10 minutes to
Feel
let this
like
whole
her.
thing play out.
Not the whole thing, just
All right.
Please come home to Timmy.
Timmy?
People can talk you into anything, but nobody can tell you you're not his mother. The one who gave birth to him, the one who nursed him. He'll know. You'll know. Mary Frances, you gotta tell him. You gotta tell him something. Please come home with me.
I can't.
Please. For Timmy's sake. And then if you want to leave, you tell him you have to go away forever, and then you can leave. I promise. Let me push you out. And you can follow me. No
All right, that's
strings.
So go home with this stranger. Pretend I'm his kid's dead mother. Look this kid in the eye and tell him I have to abandon him forever? No way she's going to go along with that, right, Chris?
Well,
I would.
I would say that's actually the right thing to do, but it's not something you would agree to at midnight in a landfill. you would want to plan that out, I would think.
But
for
how is that
maybe
the
a
right
Sunday
thing to
outing?
do? It's basically, instead of saying what he should have said to his son weeks, perhaps months ago, your mother has passed away. We're never going to see her again, but we'll always love her. Now he's trying to introduce his quote-unquote mother back into his life, and she has to say goodbye.
Yeah. I'm going to reserve my comments about that issue until the end.
Okay. And so can we go to 140? Okay.
Which hopefully we're getting to soon.
Yes. Sorry, Chris. I know you hate this bit.
I don't hate this bit. It's a
You
great
do.
bit.
You're
I
not,
just,
you're
but I
not
do
a fan
hate
of these movies. You
No.
hate the movies.
I love the bit. I hate the movies. So there you go.
Okay. Here we go. We're almost through it, Chris. Carrot.
Aren't you gonna paint a smile on his face?
What do you mean?
The way you used to.
Oh boy, creep
Jack.
zone.
It has to happen. It's a made-for-TV movie.
Please,
I'm surprised they didn't work this into the title.
Yeah.
let things be the way they
Deadly
used to.
Vengeance?
Don't let 'em change.
Is that what's happening?
Deadly.
You can
Please
feel
don't.
it, can't you?
Please don't, okay?
You can feel it.
Please stop. Jack, please. Please stop it. Stop it.
You want
Hold
me?
on, folks.
You
Here it
want
comes.
me. I know you do. I can feel it.
Stop it.
Oh boy. Kaboom. Is that one? Oh no. Oh no. At what point did he unbutton her blouse? I don't remember that occurring.
It might have been covert. He's a master.
Lady.
Yeah.
Lady, I'm sorry. Are you hurt?
Is he calling her lady?
Yes, he's calling her lady. Now, okay, that's fine. That's fine, Jim.
That's
yes,
very
he's calling
odd.
her lady. It is very odd, especially in a made-for-TV movie. It's very unique. Not only is it merely an attempted rape, but the attempted rape leads to the villain pulling a face turn. He calls her lady, and you realize, okay, he suddenly gets it that that's not his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very impressive. So can we go to the next clip?
Now this kid's name, hold on. This kid's name is Carrot.
Oh, no, the kid's name is Tim.
Okay.
But I'm referring to him as Carrot because I'm learning Welsh.
Well, now, because I know that, what was the lead singer of Led Zeppelin's name?
Robert Plant.
Robert Plant. His son was named Carrick, like the ship, not Carrot. Are
No.
you sure you're not, you sure about all this?
I am sure about all this, and I can tell you why if you're really interested.
We might as well.
Okay. Well, in the Welsh language, the word for carrot, the vegetable,
Right.
is moron.
Really?
Yes.
Is that where the word moron comes from?
No.
Okay.
It's just a coincidence.
Okay. All right. And also, Carrick is just a coincidence. That's
Also-
Robert Plant's son's name. Okay.
Also a coincidence.
Gotcha.
I assume.
Because he was Welsh, I think. Because like some of Led Zeppelin's
I don't know
lyrics
about that.
are.
I know they recorded in Wales, and
Yeah.
but also the language spoken in the Lord of the Rings books was based on Welsh.
Right. Well,
That's something I've learned in my lessons.
all right.
By the way, this is why I'm woefully unprepared this week. There's always some weird tangent I go in life
Yeah.
that makes me unprepared for the show. And this week it's because I've begun to learn Welsh.
yeah. And I was about to go into a Tolkien thing, but let's stay focused and get back to the movie of the week.
Okay.
No! But your mommy wants you to know that she loves you so very much. And she always has. And she always will. Goodbye, sweetheart.
He thinks she's his mom.
Right. Of course he does.
Yeah, she looks exactly like her.
Let go. Let go, buddy. You stay with Dad, son. He needs you, boy.
Goodbye, Jack.
This is kind of sad until you realize it's ridiculous.
Oh, the whole thing's ridiculous, but there's no way this did not scar this kid for life.
Right.
Now, what? Stop. Okay.
Well, no, there is a way. There is a way it wouldn't.
Oh, yeah?
Which was the point I waited to make. Like, come on, man. You can't. The very beginning of this movie, the woman whose brain is now inside this body
Yeah.
was talking about come home and make love to me so we can have a baby. I want a baby. I want kids.
Yeah, and that's...
Here's a freaking kid. Raise him. Be a part of his life.
So
you owe. She gave her body to you. You wouldn't be alive if not for her. The least you could do is be a part of this kid's freaking life.
And pretend to be somebody she's not.
Right. Well, no, you don't need to pretend. The kid will, once the kid becomes an adult, he'll know what happened. But yeah, pretend for a little while, the same way you pretend with Santa Claus. You know, you'll figure it out.
But she has to abandon
part of this
the life
kid's
she already
life.
has with her husband?
No, she doesn't need to abandon anything. You can still be married to the blonde dude and still be a part of this kid's life.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
You could be Aunt whatever,
or or it could be stepdad. Like she's married to the blonde guy now.
Right.
You don't need to exit this kid's life entirely. It's a cruel, messed up thing to do.
You're also not entitled to.
Yeah, you have that's what I'm saying. You have an obligation to this family.
You're not obligated at all.
The hell you aren't. You got this person's body. That doesn't come without a price.
I'm on your side. I agree. Maybe she doesn't have to bang this guy, but I mean, she should still be in the son's life.
I mean, I feel like she should have threw him a handy out of gratitude, but come on. But no, she's under no obligation to the father, but she does have an obligation to the child. I feel.
Well,
and even if it's not an obligation, it's the right thing to do. It's not like you hate children.
Is it the right thing to do, though? I don't see why that's the right thing to do other than you feel obligated.
It is the right thing to do, but not for this kid, because this kid is annoying.
He's a carrot.
I hate this kid, and I've never said that about a kid in my life.
I did not pick up on the hatred
this
that you
kid
two
is so annoying.
Have for this kid.
He caused the entire incident.
Donkey! And then, well, I guess we're going to see it, right? Is that what I have here?
No, actually. I do want to say this. My biggest problem, my biggest issue is before she leaves, what's his name's house?
I don't know.
Okay,
Grease
Mike from
Grease
Breaking
Monkey?
Bad. Hey, Grease Monkey.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she say, oh, wait, before I leave, can I take this closet full of clothes that fit me perfectly and you have no use for? Because I just threw every stitch of threads I own in the landfill, and those don't fit me. Yet I have a feeling these ones will suit me just fine.
Well, there was a scene where he tries to give her an old sweatshirt, and it says like Port Royal Speedway, and I don't know, she didn't own a nice jacket or coat or something. That would have been a better choice than the oil stained T-shirt or sweatshirt you tried to give her.
So here's what happens next. Here's how things end up. Don, the husband of Julia, reports her missing. She goes home anyway, feeling like her old self since the accident. She reconciles with Don, and he goes back to solving mysteries with Major Dad. Now, can I share with you the part that most annoyed the A-bomb?
Okay, please.
This is so early in the film, the accident hasn't yet occurred. Mary Frances takes her carrot of a son to the mall to see Santa Claus. Let's watch this clip, and then once it's over, we'll see if you can identify her beef.
And what do you want for Christmas, young man?
Honey, he's talking to you. Timmy. I'm sorry, can we just have the cane? Thanks. Sorry, I'm scared. Come on. Oh, honey. Oh, did he scare you? Should Mama paint a smile on your face? Look at me. You got your cane. Look, you got a cane.
All right. Any idea, Chris?
Yeah, I think I got it. I believe that the way that scene was shot, they were ripping off A Christmas Story, the I'll Shoot Your Eye Out movie, by doing the zoom in on Santa in a attempt at horrifying. Is that? Am I right about that?
Well, let's hear if Jim has a guess. Do you have any guess as to why this scene annoyed the A-bomb?
Because, well, in the beginning of the scene, the kid. Well, I was trying to keep myself quiet because I feel like I'm interrupting your show. From what I seen in the beginning of that scene, the kid couldn't wait to go see Santa Claus. Then when he gets there, the kid doesn't want to. He's scared all of a sudden.
No.
No, that's a normal part of having a kid, Jim. That's the kind of thing will happen.
Well, you're both wrong.
Okay. Well, I'm not wrong about that. I'm wrong about the Christmas Story thing I said.
Yeah, you're wrong about why this scene annoyed the A-bomb. Who calls it a cane? She refers to a candy cane 3 times as a cane.
Really?
Yeah, let's see this again.
Let's watch it again.
And maybe this will annoy you too.
And what do you want for Christmas, young man?
Honey, he's talking to you. Timmy. I'm sorry, can we just have the cane? Thanks. Sorry, I'm scared. Come on. Oh, honey. Oh, did he scare you? Should Mama paint a smile on your face? Look at me. You got your cane. Look, you got a cane.
All right, there's 3.
Who says that?
No one. No one I've ever heard ever.
Maybe that's something they say in Texas.
But this is in L.A.
No, but she moved from Texas with her grease monkey husband.
That's true, yes. That's why she had the Texas Speedway sweatshirt.
Yeah. So any closing comments on who is Julia?
Yeah. I feel, wouldn't this have been a much better movie if the brain transplant had gone the other way? So the, let's just say average looking woman, her brain gets put into the body of this model. And then she goes home to her self-described grease monkey husband. And all of a sudden he's dating a model. Like, now you got a fucking story, man.
That's on the other side of town. Do they film those movies up in the valley?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they did remake this movie within the next few years, Chris.
Dude, this is ripe for a sequel. Who's Julia Part 2? Imagine where this story ends up 10 years down the road. Did they end up having children? What happened to Carrot? What happened to Grease Monkey? You know? I mean, I don't know how this wasn't a franchise.
Well, I do have a feeling they will remake it, but not do a sequel, not do an update, do a reboot.
Oh, okay.
Where Julia's brain is put into a man's body, but sent home as Julia. And her husband isn't really into it, and he's shunned by society for his alleged transphobia.
That's the 2021 version of this film. Yeah.
I can see that happening. So, Chris, anything we didn't talk about you might want to talk about?
Well, I mean, we always try and serve the public good here.
Oh, yes. This is very important.
I do have a PSA that's, sort of related to this.
Right. We like to address the issues that you've just seen in the film we've watched parts of.
But before we do that, is there anything, if there's anything you want to talk about?
Oh, no, I'm good, Chris.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll just go right to that.
Okay. In that case, we hope you enjoyed Get Back. We hope you enjoyed Is This Julia? Who is Julia? Julia's Choice? Oh, that'd be a... Okay.
Do we have something picked out for next week?
We don't. I don't have anything. I do have a list. I have a short list of films, but I don't have those with me.
All right.
Can we put up a poll on Monday?
Well, we could.
Yeah, but it will be embarrassing when nobody responds.
Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah. I don't want to ask questions on the Facebook page or any sort of because it's just horrendously embarrassing.
It's a tree falling in the forest when no one's there.
Not that people aren't watching, and we appreciate the people who are.
Yes, thank you.
And I don't want to take the people who aren't watching out on the people who are. You know what I mean? I
get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
We appreciate it all, but do us a favor and tell your friends.
Or 2.
All right, in that case, thanks so much for putting up with us. I'm Steve Rees for Chris Regani and Hamboy Askiwiwi.
Askiwawa.
Holy Maganao.
Ziggy Zaki.
He hit him raw. We did it. Finals against the Argos on Sunday.
Hi, I'm YouTube's Chris Morganti, here to talk to you about a problem that's sweeping the nation. Guys trying to bang their wife's body donor recipient. Now, I know it's tempting, but there's 3 simple rules you should keep in mind. Number 1, always get consent. Number 2, make sure you call her by her new name. Remember, that's not your wife's brain in there anymore. And number 3, Even though you've pleasured that body many times before, to her, you're a new guy. She may have something disparaging to say about your physique or your sexual stamina. In that case, always have an insult at the ready. Something like, "Hey, bride of Frankenstein, I may have a small dick, but at least I know not to dive in front of a moving cement truck." I mean, Steve, you'd think she would have given him a hand job just out of pure gratitude, right?
Very least, yeah.
But what do I know?